How rich people stay invisible and paid. Imagine this. Jesus was born poor. Buddha gave up his palace. Muhammad lived humbly. But guess what? The richest people today don't follow the example of any of them. And somehow they're worshipped in silence. No scriptures, no sermons, no statues, yet they control the world. Now here is the real question. Why do the richest people stay invisible, but always get paid, and more importantly, how? What I'm about to tell you will challenge everything your parents, teachers, pastors, and even your favorite YouTubers taught you about money. Because rich people, they don't play the same game as the rest of us. They wrote their own rules, and they made sure we never read the playbook. Let me tell you a story. In 2010, a man named Ronald Read passed away in a small town in Vermont. He was a janitor, wore flannel shirts, drove a second-hand car, ate the same breakfast every morning. Nothing fancy, no flash. When he died, he left behind a fortune of $8 million. Nobody, not even his family, and had a clue. How? He invested. Silently. Consistently. Invisibly. No lottery, no crypto, no overnight magic. Just quiet, boring wealth building. Now pause for a second. How many people do you know would have flexed that on Instagram by year 2? Exactly. This is rule number 1 of invisible wealth. The loudest person in the room is usually the brokest. But let us dig deeper, because that's just the surface. You see, rich people don't just hide their wealth, they hide in plain sight. Here's how they don't own their assets, their companies do. That yacht you see, owned by a shell corporation in the Cayman Islands. That luxury mansion, held in a family trust with a fake name, that private jet. It's leased by a holding company owned by another company that they don't even appear on paper for. Confused? That's the point. Because when you can't be seen, you can't be taxed, sued, or cancelled. Here's rule number 2. Ownership is for peasants. Control is for the rich. This one hurts, but it's real. You know how we're all taught to own our home and pay off the mortgage? Rich people? They leverage, they borrow against their assets. They take loans on their stocks, tax-free. No income tax. Meanwhile, you get taxed on your paycheck before it even hits your bank. Fair, no legal, 100%. Let us talk religion for a second. No disrespect, every religion praises humility, giving, sacrifice. But what if I told you that idea was sold to you? What if humility was a tool and not a virtue used to keep the poor comfortable with being poor? Now stay with me. In ancient times, kings partnered with priests. Why? Because while kings ruled with swords, priests ruled with stories. Stories that said, "Blessed are the poor. Love of money is the root of all evil. Give to the temple and your reward is in heaven." Rich people funded the church, and the church kept the people docile. Even today, people will tithe 10% of their income, but feel guilty about charging for their time. That guilt was installed strategically. Now let's go to modern times. Why don't you know who owns your city? Who owns the land under your favorite mall? Who profits every time you swipe your card because they don't want to be known? They hide behind LLCs, holding companies, real estate trusts, offshore accounts, and front-facing CEOs. Rich people hire faces. They stay faceless. They don't go viral. They go silent. Why? Because visibility is vulnerability. Fame is a currency poor people chase when they don't know how to build wealth. You see a rapper flex a 100K chain. The billionaire who signed him just bought 100 acres of land with his money. Let's get practical. How can someone like you start becoming invisible and unpaid? It starts with 3 simple mindset shifts. 1. Stop flaunting, start building. Don't post it, invest it. 2. Create legal entities. Start an LLC. Build a trust. Separate you from your assets. 3. Focus on cash flow, not clout. Real wealth isn't in how much you have, it's in how much keeps coming in while you sleep. The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. How many do you have? And don't say your 9 to 5 and your side hustle. Those are just 2 ways to trade time for money. Rich people build systems. They buy back time. Let me trigger you a little more. You know what rich kids get taught? Not how to make money, but how to hide it. There are entire private schools that teach legacy planning, offshore asset protection, and tax efficiency to teenagers. Meanwhile, we're here memorizing mitochondria and writing essays about Shakespeare. Education wasn't designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you useful to someone else. And here's the emotional part. If you grew up broke, you were probably taught, don't be greedy. Be happy with what you have. Money isn't everything. But guess what? Those sayings never came from rich people. They came from people who were trying to make peace with not having enough. That is not wisdom. That is survival. You can be kind, generous, spiritual, and rich. The two aren't opposites. But you'll never get there if you keep playing a game you never learned the rules to. Let's wrap this up with one final story. In 2005, a man bought a few thousand acres of land in Montana. He built a secretive compound. No press, no public appearances. Years later, we found out it was owned by a trust, funded by one of the wealthiest and quietest families in America. They don't show up on Forbes, they don't do interviews, but they influence politics, control industries, and fund charities. Anonymously. That's real power, and real power, it doesn't shout, it whispers. So here's the uncomfortable truth. The system isn't broken. It works perfectly for the people who understand it. If you want to stay poor, keep chasing likes. If you want to get rich, learn how to disappear. Because in today's world, the more invisible you are, the more untouchable you become. And that, my friend, is how the rich stay invisible and always, always paid.